Live. Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Crystallize live stream. Today, I'm here with Håkon.
Hello.
Hey, Internet. And today we'll have a follow-up discussion on the previous live stream and the one before that, where we introduced the new boilerplate, right? And we previously have discussed a little bit about the Service API. And during this live stream, during this talk, it will be really interesting to see how we can connect it to the boilerplate that we have launched, whether that is the NextJS boilerplate or any of the ones that we have been using, or we have just built something on our own and just want a middleware per se. So isn't that right, Håkon? So it's basically what we'll be discussing, and that's the purpose of the Service API essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is what we will be doing, covering today, unless there's some interesting questions coming in from the sideline.
Yeah, for sure. So it's if it's good to you mentioned that actually, because if it's we did have a question in the community, and if someone needs something specifically to be, he's wondering about something, or he has like any kind of thoughts on how he could implement and how he could make something work, just type something in the chat and we'll probably address it. Probably.
Most likely, yes.
Most likely, yeah. So awesome. You want to give like a bit of an introduction again on what the Service API is, just to keep it as a reference for the people that are not aware of, or they haven't basically checked it that much?
Yeah. So the Service API is a backend service that is a sort of connects all the different services that you might have. By the way, do you share my current screen that I'm sharing?
No, I'm sharing mine. Do you want to share or not?
It's nice to show this diagram. So yeah.
Okay, sure. All right. I had my own set up already. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Okay, good. Okay, nice. So the Service API is a backend service that lies between the front end, or the front ends, one or many front ends that you might have, and connects and ties all of your business together. Yep. So essentially, pulling all of the, pulling like payment providers, user authentication. You want to send emails. Obviously, you want to validate front end. Validate products and stuff with Crystallize, and so on and so forth. So it's the back of the front end, kind of, or back. Yeah, I don't know, but essentially a backend service that connects, ties your business together.
Yeah, holds the stack together, basically. The glue.
Yeah. It's the glue. Yeah, it's independent of the front end. It's independent of the services. It's sort of your thing, and this is where you will be doing all of the intricate things when it comes to managing your users, managing orders, receiving webhooks. And today we will be basically just showing you how to connect your own Service API to a front end that you might have, and doing some small adjustments just to showcase how you would, go about that.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to clarify a bit here is that, of course, not of course, but we, as of the Crystallize team, has built the Service API, right? And it's available for the guys to use. But for sure, people own that code after they install, and it's basically, because it's something that I've been asked a few times. It's the code is owned by them; it's not owned by us. So it's specifically available for them to handle and adjust and do whatever they want. We just provide, again, a boilerplate, a starting point for people to address and do whatever they want with it.
Yes. It's a boilerplate like any of the other boilerplates that we have. It's licensed under the MIT license. You can do whatever. So it's a starting point. It will help you to integrate with other services and connect that with Crystallize and your business really.
And one more thing, because before you show us how we can link it to the front end, in parentheses, we can also mention that the team will be working on quite a few integrations from our side, things like maybe order management systems, and it could be shipping providers, of course, more gateways, things like that, the user authentication services and things like that. That will, of course, be just like all the other integrations we've made, and they're available through the Service API now. They will be available in public, of course, and open source, similar to all the previous ones. So it's quite a few things that we'll be looking at, and surely interesting to get it out at some point. So cool. I guess the main question is, Håkon, how do we link our front end to the Service API? After I have, of course, I've downloaded my boilerplate, NextJS, and I have made some adjustments. I've used my own tenant, or I've used the furniture tenant. And now I want to link my own Service API so that I can have my own cart validation, and I want to basically check out my own stuff.
Yeah. Growing up, this is like the once you sort of hit that point when you can't really use our demo Service API any longer, this is sort of where you will begin. And let's just take it from the scratch, from the start. I mean, so I'm just gonna add a terminal share here real quick. Wait, that was way too fast. Here we go. Are you seeing the terminal now? Or
yeah, I can see. Maybe it's a bit small. Maybe you can zoom in when.
Oh yeah, I can zoom in. Of course I can. Yeah. Let's zoom in. So for every sort of new boilerplate thing you want to do, this is how you will start it. Just use our CLI tool, and it will list out the available boilerplates for you, which includes mostly the front ends. In this case, we already have a front end. We have a NextJS boilerplate. This is the top one we currently have. We want to make our own Service API now. So in that case, you navigate down and you'll find the Service API here. You can select two different ways to host it currently. Both serverless, it's AWS and Vercel. We can go with AWS for this one. And it's important now to pick the correct tenant. So the Service API needs to know which tenant to use in Crystallize. It's supposed to be the same one that the front end is using. So we are going to select not furniture, because we made something I think we could use for this one, which is the one that you and Didrik was setting up the last time.
Yeah, it has prices, I think.
Livestream furniture shop, I think. Let me just verify. Can you verify that that's the right one?
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I need to double check real quick.
Yeah, it is. I just checked.
Yeah, nice.
So let's use that one. And that's basically all you need to get started. And sort of without waiting for this, because it's going to take some time, I've already prepared how it looks. So this is the Service API, and you can see in the environment variables, we got the livestream furniture shop set here. So you can, of course, change this if you want. And if you don't answer it correctly in the CLI, that doesn't matter. This is the only place you need to change it later.
Yep. So essentially, dev and prod environment or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So without sort of touching anything, let's just use the Service API as it is, and let's deploy it. This is using serverless, the serverless framework. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. If you're not familiar with the serverless framework, we can link to some good resources to get you started. But in essence, you do this. One of the ways to deploy. Just execute serverless deploy. and it will give you back a, it will actually set up the entire infrastructure in AWS for you, and you will end up with a working service API. I'm sharing Chrome right now.
Yeah.
Good. So this is just jumping a bit ahead. This is what it looks like when you've deployed it. You got your unique URL here. You can see it's hosted on Amazon here. And this is for those of you who know how AWS works and sort of manages the different stages of an application. This is just, the dev version. The prod version wouldn't have it. It would just be /GraphQL. So for now, it's just a dev version, so we can work with that. And you can see here that user is logged in, just checking one random query. Yeah, so it looks like it's working. So if you already have a front end, assuming this one, for instance, livestream, this one is using the furniture tenant. What if we wanted to change that to this, the one that you use for your previous stream, and it's and also connected with our own service API? Let me switch to the code for the front end.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, like in the code, you are running, in the front end boilerplate, you do run for a cart validation. You go through the service API. And essentially, there's a bit of logic there to check if there's a furniture tenant or basically our own at some point. If I remember correctly, the other day that I checked a bit. So yeah, it does work if the front-end boilerplate is not using the furniture tenant, but it's always way better when you're validating your cart to have a reference to your own items, right? So
yeah, exactly. Can you verify though that what I'm seeing in Chrome here is the correct stuff from the tenant?
Let me see.
Yeah,
because we did have.
While you do that, I'll just see how this looks locally at my machine. Livestream furniture shop is our tenant, and we're connecting to our demo service API. So this is what we eventually want to sort of switch out, because you want your own here. But just for now, let's just ensure that it's working. It's good to know from the get-go.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah. And this always takes a bit of time locally. Once you build this for production, it's going to be very, very fast because it's going to be statically generated and not doing server-side rendering as it's doing in development. Okay, anyways, localhost 3000 looks like it's working. So we can kind of see that something's weird if we try to add stuff to the basket, because the demo service API here doesn't know of your tenant. This is set up to talk to another tenant that we have, the furniture tenant. And so if you add something to the basket here, you'll get a furniture back, not a plant, or actually nothing in this case. So what we want to do, we want to change this so that we're pointing to our own service API. What we can do, and it's probably a good idea, is to spin up the service API locally and test that you can connect your front end with your back end before you deploy anything. So let's do that. I'm going to go on my service API. I'm going to start that up. It's going to be hosted on port 3001 by default, which means that it should be available localhost 3001 dev GraphQL. And this dev GraphQL is because we're running the AWS version. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to jump over to the front end project. I'm going to replace this with this one. So if we now spin up the local front end project, now pointing to our own service API, first thing I want to do is just ensure that I can put stuff in my basket.
So yeah,
And,
I guess this is like the first touch point, I guess, right?
This is the first thing that that you should probably be doing.
Because also in the basket you run logic to validate the item.
Exactly. Exactly. So without diving too much into that, you want to ensure that users have your actual product in their basket, stuff that exists in your catalog, as well as having proper pricing and correct images and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And
so,
there's also another thing that I noticed the other day is that, of course, since you're going through the API, when you do things like a simple thing like adding an item to the basket, you can perform logic in between these steps, such as if your project has a more sophisticated, let's say, not standardized product, but like a more complex product with options and things that can be adjusted and stuff like that. And this goes through the service API. Essentially, you can get back a full model, full cart, full basket that acts exactly as you want it to be, without performing any hackish ways through the front end.
Yes. Yes, you're spot on, because the service API is really the boss here. It determines everything how things should be in terms of the cart shape and how things works, in payments and webhooks and everything. So essentially, now when we add to basket here, I'm hoping that it works though. Look at this, yeah. Suddenly we're able to add something to the basket now, and that's because the service API now knows what this is. So what we can do as well, if you want to play with the service API without the front end, that's also possible to do. I'm not sure if we should do a lot of that now, but
I guess we did mention it previously, right?
Yeah, I think we did. So anyways, let's go ahead and change the local host here to the deployed version. And I did cheat. I think I did tell you this is the one that is deployed. So let's just switch to that and just ensure that it works as well. Go ahead. This is the new one. Start up the server again. You have to restart the NextJS application every time you change the environment variables. It's not picking up those changes, and that's probably fine because they're not prone to change that often, anyways. So that's okay. So if it's already reloading. Let's just wait for it to finish, and it's gonna take 15 seconds, I think.
You counted that, or?
No, just random guess.
Random guess?
I feel it always takes too long time. Anyways.
You're spot on, yeah.
So look at that. So we have stuff in the basket. This tells me that it works, but we can just quickly verify and just add it again, ensuring it works. We can even open up the network console here and see which URL it talks to. And we can see that it's actually talking to our deployed version. We can open this in a new tab. We'll see, okay, it's actually talking to this one. So good. So now we know we've got our own version of the service API. The front end is set up to talk to that. So I say now that the front end is done. If I deploy this, then we should be good to go. I just want to make sure that we do this right. This is deployed using Vercel. I can do something else now that's probably a good idea to show off too.
Environment variables?
Yes, exactly. So the environment variables that we've got defined in this front end isn't necessarily set in your project in Vercel. It's not, doesn't automatically come with. So let me just log into Vercel here and just give me a few seconds to sign in.
Yeah, because essentially you can, if I'm guessing right, what you're doing now, you'll be adding the paths of each of the installations or deployments of the service API, and you can differentiate when you hit production and when you hit dev environments, basically. And this will be sync with your preview deployments in Vercel and your production deployments in Vercel with the ones that you have for the Service API.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, exactly.
Good guess.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
This is spot on. I can't do two things at once here. I need.
Yeah. Always forget your code or your passwords. No problem.
Oh yeah, it also asked me for like a verification, right, on SMS. I'm doing that too. So right, I think
nice.
I'm going in here now. All right, so yes, there we go. Let me switch back to this one. I'm gonna select my project here. Livestream furniture shop. So in here in your settings, you can set your environment variables. And for the front-end project, you don't need a whole lot of them. But just for reference, we can set both of them. We can set both the tenant identifier. Let's do a plain text here, because they are not secret. So this one is going to be the Livestream furniture shop. Just going to copy paste, basically the same as in the env file. And you can then determine like, where should this go? Production, preview, deployment. This one might not change. It might change. Maybe you'll have like a prod tenant. Who knows, really? So, but for now, I'm just going to make this for any environment. I want to add another one, and that's the Service API. Oh. So the Service API URL is probably going to be dependent on the environment. You probably want something for development, something for preview. So in this case, I basically don't want this for production, but preview and development, sure, I guess. Should be fine. So now we've got two. The NextJS public Crystallize tenant identifier and a NextJS public Service API URL. So it's not available for my existing deployments. Deployments in Vercel are immutable, which means they can never be changed. And that also includes the environment variables. So we need to go back to Vercel and make another deployment just to ensure that it's being picked up. So while we do that, now we're just going to wait for another deployment to pop up here. We can just wait for a few seconds to see that it's actually doing that. Oh, yeah, there you go. So it's going to take 2 minutes. So let's just brainstorm you and me, Stavros. Let's just find out what we can do with the already deployed version. Let's go to this one. Yeah. Because now I think this is how you will connect the Service API. What if you wanted to change some stuff?
Correct. I think like the easiest thing would be I have a set of discount codes that they're available for an X amount of time, like Black Friday. That essentially could be, of course, it could be somewhere external, or they could be hard-coded in the Service API. It's like a standardized code. I'm not sure if we have it like that, to be honest, in the Service API.
Yeah, voucher codes.
But essentially, I would imagine that since the Service API, again, it's the glue to all the front ends, I would like to have a code for Black Friday. And after Black Friday is off, then we can just remove that.
Yeah. Let's do that. Something with voucher codes. Let's just figure out why this didn't build. What happened? Can't read property map of null. That's weird. So that's the same error should happen here if we do yarn build. Let's try the same thing. It's kind of odd though. And it's happening off the shop plans path. Okay, strange. But yeah, let's do something with the vouchers. So if we check out, maybe we can do a just switch to the Service API real quick while this is building, because in the Service API we got a bunch of services, and one of them being the voucher service. I guess I can zoom out just a little bit so you can see more of what's happening. Wait, no, that's wrong. Here. Need a bit more. Here we go. So in here, we have a voucher register. I guess this is what you were talking about, Stavros.
Yeah, exactly.
So the idea
where I handle my, essentially my, discount codes or whatever logic.
Yeah. So at the moment, this is basically just an example of what you can do. Crystallize, we don't want to have a concept of vouchers as part of our product because the use cases are just simply so different. The way that you compose your vouchers for your business is probably going to be way different than the next business. So this is the reason why we sort of take this out of Crystallize, but we'll give you an example of how to do this yourself in an easy way. So the basic example here is we have some vouchers for authorized users, these two. You're getting a 10% discount if you're logged in, or you're getting an amount of 100 something, giving these two codes and giving that you're an authorized user. And the way that we check that is basically using the Service API's own way of detecting if you're logged in. So the voucher service has a get method that receives a code and a context of a user. And if there is not a user, then the voucher register will be filtered to only look for codes that are for non-authorized users. But if you're logged in, well, you can basically access the entire register. So this is basically the way that this works. So if we wanted to extend this to, for instance, do a date range or something, you can do whatever you want in here. Valid from could be a new date. You can do whatever you want here. From this year, valid to an entire year, for instance, and then you could
nice code.
Right, yeah, and this is good stuff, right? So then you would check here, check for dates, right? And then you would just do if voucher valid from is equal or bigger than new dates, and so on, right? This is really good code, but I think it conveys the message.
Yeah.
So you basically make your own stuff here. So what we can do as a simple example, we can just take, we can just add a new code, honestly. I think that would be easier for now.
Yeah,
Let's make a crazy deal. And the crazy deal gets you a discount percentage of 90.
That's crazy.
It's for everybody. If you know the code, you get 90% discount. Pretty bad for a furniture shop.
Yeah, well,
but
it goes 3,000 euros.
Right. So there's something wrong with the build. So let's not just bother with that. Let's just run this locally for now. But so in any case, we got now an amazing deal. So let's just add that to this. I don't think I have to restart, by the way. I don't know why I did that. But if you now go to our local host, which is, wait, we forgot. We need to revert and point to the local service API. Here we go, not the deployed one. Then let's test. Let's test our a new voucher code.
Nice.
And as you mentioned, Stavros, earlier, here, this is just an example of static voucher codes that would never change. You and you probably would like an external service here. So some people would probably want to sort of remove all of these register codes here and just not do a lookup on the register itself, but you probably have an external one. So you do like external voucher service. Let's just add proper naming as well. Get voucher. And you pass the code in and then sort of wait for that, because that might be a slow service, who knows. But this is exactly where you would do that. So assuming you could have your voucher codes and Crystallize, it's a possibility. You just make a folder of vouchers and you have documents with each code, for instance, and some rules. You can have specific, there's dedicated voucher service probably out there as well that you can do. And there's endless possibilities here, really. But this is definitely where you would be adding that stuff. In any case, I'm kind of keen to see if our voucher code now works.
Oh, nice.
Oh. And do we have more expensive products than this? I don't know.
From a plant, I'm not sure in this example web shop, but
okay. So let's just take that, like the previous one works. Okay, deal. This one is check. It's going to take some time. There we go. Yes, I'm getting to amount to euros or whatever that was out. Good. Okay, let's remove that and do the crazy deal. The crazy deal. Oh, look at that. That's
nice.
Beautiful. So looks like we don't have quantity. There's a bug here. We don't do quantity here in the total price, which messes up the to pay amount. We will fix that. Don't worry. Yeah. But this is essentially how you do it. It's a small adjustment, but essentially it's sort of this change isn't really relevant to the front end. So the front end stays untouched. The service API.
So I don't need necessarily to change my logic in my app if someone purchases something, and I solely only change things in the backend in my service API, and pretty much that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So another question that we have here, for instance, we can check out. Say that you want to have a different kind of payment service, right? And we have the example says there's a bank transfer service. Oh, great! I'm losing my English here. Essentially, would I need to implement logic both in the front end and in the back end if I want to make a change like that? So change my payment provider, essentially.
You probably need a small thing in your front end. Not necessarily.
More probably like what data to transfer, right? To the
yes. But most of the work, if you wanted to implement a new payment provider, would lay in the backend service, where you would need to initiate. I don't even know how you do bank transfer, but I'm assuming it's a multi-step kind of thing. But yeah, so the front end would probably just be responsible of passing the necessary data to the service API. And I'm assuming if it's a bank transfer, well, you probably need to be transferring some personal like the name and stuff like that, as well as bank account details. I don't know.
Most probably.
Yeah. So at least that's the front end job, would be to collect that and pass that along to the service API and let that sort of deal with the heavy lifting.
With everything. Yeah. So mainly like everything that we would have to do in these kinds of integrations would be things like just adjusting the front end to pass the data and let the boss guy do the heavy work, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So another thing that people have asked is, and we have thought about it a bit, at least, is all right. I want to do some more special things with my customers. Say I want a dedicated sort of custom profile for a customer. So for someone that signs in and logs in my website. So things like I want him to have points. I don't know, or things like that, or specific customer-specific vouchers. Things like this that can be done. So as you know, in Crystallize, we don't have specifically a section for that specific customer profile logic.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, at least not yet. But whatever we're going to launch in the future is going to be limited in that aspect, and we will not introduce, I can say now, a point system for customers, like something embedded in Crystallize, because this truly belongs outside the PIM and CMS solution, and it definitely belongs in your own customer database, which you should have on the side.
Yeah.
So a way to solve that would be to have your own database, your own custom registry where you would distribute the points accordingly. I don't know.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. And also I have like another, let's say, example, because we have mentioned before that, of course, the Service API is there not only to handle, of course, all the, specific business logic and tying up a few things, but can also be, and we have examples of that there, of handling the webhooks from Crystallize, right? So
that's true.
When you say webhooks from Crystallize, mostly people think things like, okay, an order came in, I want to fire off an email, but you can do way more than that, right? Because maybe you have specific requirements for a product, or you want to make adjustments to a product or a information object, or like a document or a folder or whatever. So I would think it's really nice to mention here that for even more specific, detailed things like, I don't know, exporting something to a whatever, and another different service, or any additional transformations you can do through the Service API that you have initially the product information in Crystallize, they can go through the Service API. So I think really nice to mention these things because there's like not a standardized approach to some things.
True. Yeah. So let's say that whenever a new order comes in, that you want to, well, first of all, maybe notify the customer that, hey, well, thank you for your purchase. We will get back, you'll get info when it's shipped and so on and so forth. And then maybe you also want to contact the warehousing and get that process started as well. So you would do two webhooks, one for notifying the customer and a different one for starting the warehouse shipping thing as well.
Cool.
So there's the Service API really is the central piece of your business, and it deals with a whole bunch of things. So we can. I think it's probably a good idea as well to do a specific video on webhooks and do some different examples and how you would set that up specifically.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is that things like I want to share my product in different marketplaces, right? So I want my product, after I upload it to Crystallize, I want it to be in my Facebook catalog, so it's available in different, Facebook related systems like Instagram. I also want it to be on eBay. I want to be on Amazon. So maybe it will be a really nice idea to show like, okay, I can set up specific price for these systems and I can set it in Crystallize. And then from Crystallize, I can point it to all these systems independently, which will be really nice. And it's a really nice example of how you can have it centrally in Crystallize and share the information after you handle it and massage it a bit through the Service API, right? This will be a really nice, interesting case.
Yeah, good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's make something like that. Sounds fun.
It's a lot of things. So I'm not sure if you want to mention anything else about the service, like anything in particular.
Maybe I forgot something. We did make some notes, but I don't remember all of them. Let's see. Yeah, so you mentioned briefly, this is something cool too. You mentioned shipping. I think this is something that a lot of people are wondering, like, how would you do shipping?
Yeah.
And there's nothing in Crystallize to specifically do shipping. Again, because shipping is so different. Because you can do it manually. You can do it yourself. Like as a shop owner, you can get the order in and you can look at the address and drive off to the destination, deliver the package, and that's your shipping process, right? So, or you could have a sophisticated warehousing service that you run, which then requires further API calls. You need to integrate that service into your own workflow. So I think. So obviously shipping belongs within the service API, and it's tightly connected to the basket service that we already have in place. Maybe it also affects payments. So there's this is a central piece of one of the things that we will we will add in the service API moving forward. Like we did with the voucher service, something easy and simple, but still flexible enough for you to extend.
Because it's exactly like you mentioned. I feel that you can go from a very simple integration with a standardized shipping service and do one thing, or it can be a bit more complex in the sense that, all right, I have one or more agreements with multiple shipping providers, and I can basically, depending on even the postal code, right? I can essentially showcase different pricing and different, of course, this, like you said, will affect the checkout itself. So it's, it will be really interesting to address all of these. So this brings us back to why the Service API is responsible for all of these. So you don't have to change that in every other solution that you have. And it's independent from whatever front end you get the data and you present it. So that's really, really nice.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and we would obviously welcome other suggestions for things to talk about, because the central, the service API or whatever what you want to call your own backend is really the central place where you connect everything. And there's tons of ways of doing things. But we would love to sort of provide some good examples, some good starting points, which is the whole purpose of the boilerplate anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to get you, quickly out of the box and get you started really fast, so you can deliver something in short time and don't sort of spending time on setting up the basics.
Awesome. So, all right. I think we covered a few things at least. Key point would be that we will be addressing quite a few of these in the future, and we'll be showing examples of whichever implementation we do, whatever integration we manage to get out. So thanks everyone for joining us today. If you got anything specific to ask, reach out in the community. You know where to find both me and Håkon and the rest of the team. And again, if you have any specific idea or requirement, or something that you need help with, essentially, just reach out to us. Thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.